So you're very welcome to today's show. You're listening to Talking Technology with NCBI Labs, and I'm your host, Jude Maher. So it's awards week this week, and we're not talking about the Oscars. There's been a bit of drama with that already this week, but we're talking about the big ones coming up this week, the Spider Awards. And there's actually only one of the regular panel on the show to talk about it this week. JP Corcoran, are you feeling confident?
Fingers crossed ahead of Thursday, Jude. I'm looking forward to the awards on Thursday evening. So, yeah, I really am. We have been nominated for 5 awards, shortlisted for 5 awards, I should say. And that includes, obviously, the best podcast. But there's other ones as well. We have best remote team with NCBI Labs, best use of disruptive technology, which is my NCBI Smart Hub, digital transformation in industry and infrastructure, which is the NCBI Digital Transformation Project, and best in universal design, which is the NCBI website. And then, of course, the best podcast, which of course is the most important one.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Yeah, so we look forward to that. That's this Thursday, isn't it?
It's on Thursday, yeah, in the Mansion House in Dublin. So we'll be there on Thursday evening, and hopefully we're sharing good news afterwards. But either way, it's been great to have been shortlisted for the awards. Absolutely. They're very, very prestigious, and delighted to be nominated.
Absolutely, yeah. So we look forward to hearing the news from that afterwards as well. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we had our iOS versus Android debate, and we had Joe McPhillips with us. We were meant to have Kerie Doyle with us on that show as well to take the Android side. We're kind of doing a little bit of a repeat of the panel from that week, or what the panel should have been. But we also have a special guest with us this week. We're going to introduce our special guest in just a few moments. But first of all, we're just going to briefly run through what we'll be talking about on the show today. Just as a reminder, if you want to get in touch or ask a question, you can do that in the Q&A panel in Microsoft Teams. Or as usual, you can email us at labs@ncbi.ie at any point throughout the show or afterwards if you want some feedback. But what have we got on the show today? Well, later on in the show, Kerie is going to talk to us about Commentary. It's an alternative screen reader for Android devices. So Kerie's going to give us a bit of a sense of what the differences are between Commentary and TalkBack, and what the pros and cons are. We're also going to be bringing you some tech news, including a possible new retail approach from Apple, as well as news of a vulnerability in Google Chrome, which you're going to need to hear about and possibly need to update Google Chrome. We'll talk to you about that in our tech news section. But first of all, we're going to be talking about active acoustics, I should say. Now, the basic concept of active acoustics. Can we edit this out? And we can't do an edit on this. Maybe we can actually use the technology we're going to talk about in a minute to do something with this. We're talking about active acoustics, and the basic concept is probably something that a lot of people might be familiar with to some extent, particularly when it comes to active noise cancellation in headphones, for example. But today we're going to be talking about a more comprehensive approach to active acoustics put forward by a company called Silentium. So to help us with that, I'm very pleased to introduce the Business Development Manager for Silentium, Amir Slapak. You're very welcome to the show, Amir. And you're just on mute, Amir, if you want to. There you go.
Yes, hello, I am Amir. I'm talking to you from the Science Park of Ness Ziona in Israel. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you with us, Amir. Appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. So maybe just to start us off with this, Amir, just tell us a little bit about, before we get into the actual product itself, just maybe tell us a little bit about the problems that this technology is designed to address. What's it for?
Yes, we have to understand that we all live in a world full of sounds. There are sounds that we actually don't want, and these sounds are noisy. And this sound we want to reduce or cancel. And there are sounds that we want. So we want to enhance or isolate. So basically we are talking about two different sounds, okay? One is the wanted sound and what is the unwanted sound. And this is the problem or the issue that Silentium's come to solve. More than that, the European Environment Agency says that excessive noise is actually killing people. there is estimates that long-term exposure causes to 12,000 perimeter deaths per year across the European Union. So basically, this is the main problem of noise that Silentium comes to solve.
Okay, excellent. So maybe give us a bit of an example of some of the noises that are unwanted, or some situations where there's both wanted and unwanted noise in the same place.
Yes, for example, when you operate a kind of white goods or kind of devices in your house, for example, cookie hood, for example, a washing machine, there are a lot of noises that come from these devices, and this is unwanted noises. Okay, they make the for example, the airflow. Okay, the vacuum, the steams, or clean or wash the clothes. But there is noises that you don't want to come out from these devices. When these noises come out, then the background noise in your surround come higher. Then you have to speak louder. Then you have to open the TV to increase the volume in the TV. So all your surround become much noisier.
Yes.
So if we will reduce the background noise, then you will be able to speak more quiet or more calmly. And also, if you reduce this background noise everywhere, then you will be able to be focused on what you are doing. You will be able to be much concentrated.
Yeah. So it is kind of similar to what people might recognize as active noise cancellation in headphones to a degree, but it's kind of in a more comprehensive kind of approach to real life situations. Now we're going to play some of your a demo of one of the pieces of equipment from Silentium in just a moment, but maybe just tell us a little bit about the personal sound bubble and the personal quiet bubble. Just briefly, what actually are they? The personal sound bubble and the personal quiet bubble.
Okay, so lately, at the last 3 years, Silentium, we understood that this product, this technology is very demanded by the automotive market because of many reasons. The active acoustic technology continuously creates appropriate destructive acoustic field to reduce unwanted engine noise, road noise, air condition noise, and wind noise. The idea is to give to the passenger a well-being environment, and also because of safety. If you take, for example, Jaguar and Land Rover, their decision to go for a zero destination project, this is the idea, is to make a car with minimal potential for accident, and one of the factor was the noise issue. When there is noise in the car, the driver in long drive, the driver become more fatigued and less focused on the way. And
of course,
so this was the main idea.
Very good.
The idea was to use the specific natural system, the infotainment system or the head unit system, also the speaker system. And the idea was to use the natural speaker system of the car in order to reduce the noise in a technology of a simple physics. Okay, this is a destructive noise. Okay, we use the sensors to sample the noise. The sensor can be a microphone or accelerometers. Then we process it with our software that can be in the infotainment system, can be in the head unit, and then with the speaker system of the car, we can transmit the destructive noise directly to the ear of the passenger. And also we use a microphone. Also we use a monitoring system in order to make the system adaptive.
Very
because
good.
we have to understand that the driving is a changing environment every millisecond.
Yeah. Do you know what we might do actually, just to get a bit of a sense of what you're mentioning there, is actually watch the demo video. It's only just over a minute, so we might just put that on if we can, JP, please.
Welcome to Silentium's Quiet Bubble experience. Silentium is proud to present a relaxed driving sensation like you've never experienced before. Hello, driver. My name is Silentia. You are driving in a moderate speed and can hear the road noise. It's time to activate your Silentium system. Silentium system is now on. You are now experiencing the full effect of the Silentium system. Enjoy your silent ride. You can enjoy Silentium's quiet bubble in all driving conditions. You are now driving at high speed and can hear the wind noise. Silentium system is now on. Silentium system is now on. Silentium's quiet bubble enhances your in-vehicle audio experience.
Very good. So that gives us a bit of a sense of that. You could hear each time when it said Silentium is now on, the vast reduction in the noise, which was very apparent in the video there. So thanks for playing that, JP. You mentioned a couple of times, Amir, destructive noise. Is that the noise that's played to basically to destroy the noise that's in the environment already, the unwanted noise in the environment?
Exactly. Our system, our advanced algorithm knows to calculate the unwanted noise and to transmit in real time the destructive noise in order to cancel the unwanted noise and just to leave to the passenger the wanted noise. If it's music, or for example, a alert system from the car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go on.
What we are looking now, this is the personal sound bubble. This is an advanced solution to the quiet bubble. In the quiet bubble, for example, we are using just the active noise cancellation technology. Okay, the idea is to let you feel like you have a active cancellation headphones, but without headphones. In addition to that, according to the automotive market requirement, we added another technology that dealing with beaming and energy. So the idea is to focus the signal that comes from an array of speakers to a specific location. So this is your chair. So we can focus the music to your chair and to the, for example, to your neighbor or to any passenger chair. So the specific signal or energy will go to a specific passenger, and then the unwanted noise that goes out to your neighbor will be cancelled by the quiet bubble, by the active noise cancellation. So together we will have a full solution of a personal sound bubble.
Excellent. So just to describe for anybody who's not able to see what's on screen, there's an image there of two chairs right beside each other, and really that's what's being described here with the personal sound bubbles. So just in that image of the two chairs right beside each other, I guess then you could be talking here about actually two completely different tracks of music, two completely different soundtracks being played and not interfering with each other. Is that the idea?
Exactly. We have to understand that the future automotive market is going into the case, okay, to connectivity, autonomous, electric, and shared car. So the idea here is to create to each user his own private sound zone that he can keep doing what he does, keep listening to what he loves, and without interfering or without disturbing the others.
Yeah, Yeah, it's really interesting. I have to say, it's quite a concept to think about. Two people who are sitting beside each other with no physical barriers in the way, actually being able to hear different sounds and not interfere with what somebody else is listening to as well. As we're seeing it on screen, it's just the two seats beside each other, which of course could be in a car, for example. We've been talking about its use in a car in quite a number of ways, the personal sound bubbles and the quiet bubbles as well. What other kind of applications could there be for this? Are there any other examples of situations that this could work really well for?
Yes, for example, imagine for yourself sitting in a cabin of a train. Many people, a lot of noise that come out from the wheels of the train, from the wind. Many noise, a lot of noise that come, or let's call it unwanted sound that comes from the people around you, and you want to manage your private phone call or a private discussion with your neighbor. So this is the idea, to give a solution to a public transportation that it's very important to the future of the society. Also, take for example, taking a flight from a country to another country, long distance, a lot of time that you have to sit down in your seat. You have the noise that comes from the engine, and it masks everything. You cannot hear even your neighbor, and then you become more fatigued, you become more tense.
Yeah.
So this is situation that our solution, our system is come to solve.
It's quite interesting actually that it can be both the person who's trying to restrict outside noise and the person who's trying to have a private conversation. Either can be kind of in control of this, which is quite good for people as they're listening to this. Just one of the kind of funny applications that I heard of, and I say funny in that it's probably the sort of thing where people don't find great solutions to anyway. I heard somebody mentioning, I might have read it actually, that somebody mentioned this sort of technology could have possibilities. For example, if one partner snores, the other person maybe being not able to sleep through the night. Is that actually a practical situation where this could work? Would it work for that situation?
Basically, according to our test in our lab, theoretically it can happen. The solution can work. Okay, the challenge here is to take the lab test that we have done already and that we proved that we can solve the problem of snoring and cancel it with active noise cancellation. Now we have to take it into production. This is a stage that we have to understand the tolerance between one bed to another, because in active noise cancellation, there is a huge importance to the location. There is huge importance to the location of the sensors and the actuators. So it's something that we are still working on, the development of the production, of taking into production process.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it's good to just hear what the potential is as well. And kind of speaking of potential, there's maybe a couple of scenarios that we'd kind of be quite interested on, just because of the subject of this particular podcast. We like to look at technology that is of interest to anybody, but also technology that might have an application for somebody with sight loss. So, for example, some sight impaired listeners would use technology on their phones, such as a kind of a screen reader, if you like. It's reads out what's on the phone, so it's audio, it's a voice reading out what's on the phone instead of having to see the screen. And often they might use maybe a set of headphones if they're in a public space, so that what's being read out from their phone is personal to themselves, but also that they're able to hear it properly. Would you see any potential for Silentium and the solutions that are being offered by Silentium to be useful in those kind of environments?
Yes, I can tell you that many companies in this specific area with the smartphone and the headphones apply to Silentium, and we have some activity in this direction in order to create an open headphones. Okay. Eventually, the idea of Silentium is to provide you a solution of like headphones without headphones. So basically, we are aiming now for a solution that allows you to use an open headphone. That means that when you will activate the active noise cancellation, then it will be like a cone over your ears, and you will not listen your environment. But when you will stop activate the switch off the active noise cancellation, then your open headphones will allow you to communicate with the environment and to listen to other unwanted noise or to other noise sounds that you want to hear together with the music.
Yeah, yeah, really good. So that could definitely be of interest to anybody who does use VoiceOver or TalkBack or any of the screen readers commentary that we're going to talk about a little bit later on as well. I was thinking as well of entertainment. So again, just with some TV programs, they might have an audio description soundtrack that kind of covers what's happening on screen, what's happening visually when there's no dialogue. It's described back through this particular soundtrack. So could a personal sound bubble allow maybe one person to listen to the audio description version of a TV program, and then another person sitting right beside them could just listen to the standard soundtrack?
Basically, the answer for is theoretically we can do this. We're still working on a production solution to take our lab proof of concept and take it into production solution, because it also takes time to develop this. But basically, the idea is to allow you to listen to the, for example, for a TV when you sit in your house, and you are the only one that want to listen to the TV. For example, you have a football match, okay, and your wife in the kitchen, she is cooking and she doesn't want to hear your football match. So, for example, it's a good example for a solution that Silentium is going to provide. So you will be able to listen without headphones to your television program that you want, without interfering the other person in the house, for example.
Brilliant. Yeah, very good. I'd love to just hear briefly what the rest of our panel actually think about this. Any thoughts on that, JP or Joe or Kerie, on on that technology and how it could be used?
Yeah, I think I'm really interested in hearing about how this technology could be implemented for people who are in the sight loss community, Amir. So it's great hearing about that aspect to it. I must say I would like the idea of, I think Jude mentioned it there, about the audio description. So perhaps having someone who has sight loss being able to avail of the audio description on a movie or a TV program, while perhaps a family member sitting right next to them, you know, might not require it, so they're just listening to it as you know, without the AD or audio description enabled. Yeah. I mean, how amazing that would be, literally sitting across them like a foot away, you know.
Very personalized as well, and yeah. It's very much. I mean, we talked about inclusivity quite a bit throughout the course of this podcast and the live events as well. And that's very much kind of an inclusivity thing, isn't it? It's like each gets what they need. Each person gets what they need or what can help them to enjoy it most. But there's not really any specific, there's not any real division in there. It's just kind of including everybody, isn't it? Yeah, so that's a really good thing.
Yeah, all falls into that concept of inclusive design, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, Amir, we really appreciate you coming on the show. It's certainly a really interesting technology, and we very much look forward to seeing how it continues to develop and what some of the production solutions are. So thank you very much for coming on to the show today, Amir.
Thank you for having me. I'm sure you will hear about us a lot from the automotive market that we are dealing now. We are really the first company to launch with other car maker the broadband solution of active noise cancellation. And thank you for your time and to listen to me. and really I enjoy it very much.
Thank you very much. We enjoyed it as well. So it was really good to hear about it, and very, very interesting technology. That was Amir Slapak from Silentium. So we look forward to seeing how that develops. Very good. So that was quite an interesting piece to start off our show today. We're going to move on with the show now, and we're going to move into our tech news. There are a couple of interesting things to mention here. What's up first, JP?
Yes, okay, so about 4 weeks ago, the biggest tech news from Apple was that they were halting their sales of the iPhone and other products to Russia, and even blocking access to the App Store. But now we go back to present day, and the big news this week is that Apple is actually reportedly developing a service whereby customers will be able to rent for the very first time iPhones and iPads by paying a monthly subscription fee. Now this is all just kind of initial kind of reports. At the moment, nothing confirmed by Apple, but it would potentially allow users to subscribe to Apple hardware for the very first time, rather than just their digital service offerings like your Apple Music or Apple TV Plus, or even iCloud storage, which a lot of people avail of. Worth highlighting that this initiative hasn't been announced at this stage by Apple, as I mentioned, but it's interesting that it has had a very positive effect on Apple shares, which have only gone one direction, which is up since reports of introducing the subscription service were introduced by various sources about a week ago. Thinking about some of the reasons why Apple are doing this, we can look at it from the customer point of view, and we look at it from Apple's as well. It could help, looking from Apple's perspective, it could help them generate more revenue and encourage more customers to use and purchase an iPhone. So the subscription service is largely like it'd be an untapped source of potential revenue for Apple. Apart from the digital service offerings, of course. But just take, for example, like an iPhone 13, so your latest iPhone, somewhere in the range of maybe €1,000 to €1,200. There's a good chance a customer who purchases this phone outright will have it for about maybe 3 years minimum, but much better for Apple to spread this cost over a monthly repayment and making it much more affordable to the customer. Perhaps 24 months of a €50 payment per month as opposed to €1,200 outlay. Worth pointing out as well that the iPhone is actually Apple's biggest source of sales as well. It's generating, or I think it's $192 billion last year, and accounts for just over half of the company's revenue. Then look at it from the customer point of view, and it would make the iPhone much more affordable to potential customers who may not be in a position to pay for it outright, or as I say, may prefer to pay, for example, €50 for an iPhone 13 over 24 months as opposed to €1,200 in one payment. Now there hasn't been any information about how long a term the phone will be paid for and how much will be repaid. But there is.
So we're kind of guessing with the 50,
we are
50
guessing.
euro.
We're guessing about that. But there will be the potential option to upgrade to new hardware as that's released as well. So they always have the latest iPhone if that's what you're into. There has been talk about rolling this out later this year, early next year. But again, we're not sure this will be introduced in Ireland at this stage. It's quite likely it will eventually. But at this stage, it's all kind of quite just early initial reports. And while the details are quite slim, I think the thing that is clear though is Apple's subscription kind of service and ambitions are still only they're really just kind of getting started when it comes to hardware. And so they've been around for the digital services, but they're really just getting started when it comes to your iPhone, your iPad, and other Apple devices.
I think you'd imagine it'd have to be quite competitively priced, wouldn't it? Because you think about like the offerings from any of the networks, and they already offer some of the. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's going to have to be better than that, isn't it?
Exactly. I'll be interested to get the views of both Kerie and Joe today. Like the first question is where will it leave phone providers like your Three or Vodafone, who do often offer very competitive prices, particularly for customers who have been with them for a long time, maybe are due upgrades. And the second question as well, would Apple customers avail of the subscription service if it was released in Ireland? I'd be very interested to hear about Kerie and Joe's views on those questions.
Can you hear me there, Adja?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great. No, I think Apple's. Just thinking, if I was a young fella now, 16 or 17, trying to make a few quid, and wanting to get the cool phone or something that's on the market, let it be Apple or whoever, it's coming in, it's getting the new customers. I'd say it's just a new customer base, trying to wipe out the opposition and get people into the Apple ecosystem and get them going, seeing what it is. And with people now with kind of click and pay, the younger generation will find it easier. It's the wallet will become obsolete, I think. And get them young, get them in, and as is, like, not stealing someone else's writing there, but everyone's getting used to subscription services now, as in, say, your Netflix, your Amazon Prime, your everything. And then if you have your budget for the month to say, yeah, instead of lobbing out £1,000 for your phone, you pay it off over 2 years, you do your budget, and they go, yeah, that works for me. I think I'm pro Apple anyway, but it's not a bad idea, and I think it'll shake up the market, because other phone companies and other phone suppliers will say, whoa, this is working for Apple, they're getting the market. And once you get again pro Apple, if you get used to your Apple and you like your Apple device and it works quicker and they're developing the software all the time, and if you're at the forefront with your Apple 13 and it's working better and there's no lag, say, with headphones and this and that, the youth of today don't hang around with, if it's not working, they'll throw it away and look for something different,
Yeah, it is interesting. That's there's quite a few different factors involved in it. Even just I suppose even the element of, if you're paying a monthly fee, I suppose there's a few things that come to my mind when you mentioned the number of subscription services that people have. I know personally I would probably be quite reticent to keep adding to the amount of subscription services, and you suddenly have 10 things, 20 things that are all like a monthly payment, and you feel a little bit, I don't know, I'd feel a bit almost enslaved to the things that you can't get out of it. You kind of
I know, but the youth,
yeah.
I think the youth, Jude, wouldn't be thinking that way. They were like, I have my new phone, and you can bank that Apple have done their research, and they're like, yeah, and your product, like even now, it's not in the Republic yet, but in the UK, the US, I think in China, you can update your phone and get a trade-in value guaranteed. And it's if you go to the Apple store now, I know myself, if I trade in the phone I have now, I get X amount off the next one, and that's the Apple premium product. And it'd be just like, there's people buying cars now. Was it P2P or whatever they're called?
Oh, yeah, PCP.
Yeah, and it's high revenue, high return.
Yeah.
And I think people are just looking, because with the way that, changing a bit, the way the world economy is going and everything, money is at a premium, and if they can supply a premium product without having to lob out your $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever it is, you can guarantee they're going to corner the market. And that's me with my marketing head on. That's not. That's not.
Yeah.
That's not.
And I suppose with any of these things, there is a little bit of a sad reality to it, that there's a marketing argument to be made for something, and then there's the other arguments to also be made. For example, I'd be thinking, I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I'd be sort of saying to them, be careful what you get into. If you're the ones that are particularly being targeted to get into this ecosystem, and to be kind of,
it's not that at all. If the kid wants it, it's the mommy and daddy is going to bail for it. And then,
that's it. The parents might have a different view to the young ones.
Yeah, but then
exactly.
If your little person is there, either male, female, and they're going, daddy, look, it's only 50 quid a month. You can afford that, daddy, mommy. They know what they're at. Like, it's big business. That's why Apple, their shares are consistently going up. They might have the odd dip, and they, more than anyone, I think they know the game. And if they can supply Apple TV or throw in Netflix for a month or two, and they know you can guarantee it'll be released in the Republic here, and it'll be, and all of a sudden you'll go through your costs and go, God, that's actually 20 quid cheaper for the first 6 months. And money, at the end of the day, money is money. And I think I actually, if it was young, I mean, young fella was old enough, my daughter is, but if they're out working at the weekend and then they say, look, there's your money and you want the phone, sign up, and could give them a bit of responsibility and kind of get them into the real world.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think another point that kind of relates to this a little bit. It's one that Sean made actually when we were doing our prep for the show. Just even the idea of, for example, who owns the device? Well, usually with these things, it's not going to be yourself that has it, that owns it. And yet, if something goes wrong with it, then who pays for it? Is there restrictions on how you do that? We know there was the whole thing with right to repair with, particularly, for example, Apple devices. Could this be a way around that whole issue of the right to repair? That okay, people can maybe try and get repairs in other ways, but this actually restricts them into only ever being able to get Apple to repair the Apple products. This is just another way to restrict that, if you know what I mean. I'd
say once they have the market, Jude, I'd say with your contract, there'll be an insurance clause in it that it's an extra $5 a month or whatever, or they'll have it down to a T. They'll say, look, you have a postal service, we have a return thing. They might send you a jiffy bag or a bubble wrap bag or whatever. Send it back to us, stamp it up, bang. We'll guarantee a 7-day return because no one can live without their phone. But there'll be little stores now that set up and it'll have an Apple logo and say we are an Apple repair center. And that's it's all business, boy. They're dealing with the big boys now. Yeah, I think it'll be a popular solution, definitely. It wouldn't be for me. I'd be always the person who'd be trying to find your like €200 or €300 phone maybe that's fairly decent, but get your own little SIM card that is low cost every month. That'd be my kind of approach to those things. But when it comes to that as well, Jude, when it comes to business and whatever,
exactly.
They're going to hit the market. They're going to hit the market. Come out and say, look, this is the way it is. Get your hands on Apple. This is the way to go. Blah blah blah.
And everybody's doing it, aren't they?
Yeah, everybody's going to do it. And then people will be out. Oh, I can get me Apple phone now for £50, and then someone will say, "Just I got the young fella a phone, £50 a month. And I can manage that instead of lobbing out $1,000." And
Would you go for that, JP?
Yeah, I think it's I think one of the interesting points that Joe you made there, the analogy with this I think you're right, it was PCP, this personal contract plan that was available for getting the latest car for some people. Some people want the latest Audi or the latest Volvo, and they're willing to sign up to maybe a 3-year contract of monthly payments. They're quite high, and eventually what happens is you have the option to take that car at 3 months, or you can upgrade it. Now, I think that for some people who do want the latest iPhone, if they want to have the latest iPhone in 2 or 3 years time, as they do now, then it might be a good option. One of the interesting terms I've heard to describe this is from Wired. They're describing it as the Netflixification of the Apple of the iPhone. So it's turning into a subscription. I quite like that.
They're really attacking the English language with that.
I mean, one thing I would say, I'd be interested to get your views on this, Joe and Jude. Like, I mean, if you have someone who does want an iPhone, and maybe not the higher end ones, but just a mid-range one, maybe an SE or something similar, would this be an option, or would this be opening a door to them to avail of an iPhone for the first time? Because that's feedback that I would hear a lot from people. Someone saying, "Oh, I love VoiceOver. I'd love to be able to use VoiceOver and Siri on this iPhone. Access to your Seeing AI apps and different fantastic apps, but maybe it's the price that's preventing them from availing of the iPhone. Maybe this will be a way for them to access the phone they want to purchase." Yeah,
it is a good point. Absolutely.
You don't have to go, as you said, if you don't need the high end. As the SE is, I think it's about £600. Like if that comes out, what's that? What's that? £25 a month. And that's off my head. Like, apologies for the maths now, but anyway. But it's and you're away. Like a lot of people are paying that basically, and you can guarantee if they throw Netflix in with that, they get the younger student type that's on a budget, working at weekends or whatever. Then they have the Apple phone, they have their communication system with the latest bits and bobs. Maybe not the ultimate, shiny 8 billion pixel camera and stuff. They just want to take pictures, videos, and watch Netflix. And that'd be very appealing. Now, 25 quid a month, and you had the SE or something. I know a lot of friends of mine that have sight loss or sight issues. They can't, lob out the big money per se, but they see me or they meet me, and I'm always showing them their phones, and they go, "Geez, that's a great joke. That's a great joke." And I said, "It does this, it does this, it does that." And then they're like, "I just can't pay for it that way," And it's fair enough, because we're on the blind person's pension, and call a spade a spade. Like, it's hard enough to have dollars for the rest of life without a brand new Apple phone.
And I think it is probably the real key kind of the key pro for anybody with sight loss. If the whole thing has been, and I mean obviously for everybody else as well, but when we're thinking about, we've had this whole debate of iOS versus Android a couple of weeks ago, and for a lot of people it's not even a debate simply because of cost. And it becomes something where you can't even try out the iOS versions, and yet if somebody is already on a price plan with a network anyway, you're suddenly bringing that whole thing into play. For a kind of certain price point, you can actually open the door to Apple. So it is quite an interesting one. I think it's it'll be watch this space and see if it actually happens. I'm just thinking time-wise, we probably need to move on. That's quite an interesting piece of tech news. But there is one other thing that we kind of want to mention as well, because there's a little bit of a kind of vulnerability with Google Chrome that we've been alerted to as well. Tell us about that, JP.
That's right. Just yesterday, the 28th of March, Google has urged its 3 billion plus users to update its Chrome version in response to what it's called a 0-day vulnerability. And it's urged everyone to update Chrome as soon as possible. There's not a whole lot known about this vulnerability or how great an impact it would have if it was left not updated, but the release of the patch addresses apparently one vulnerability, and that should be updated. The Chrome browser should be updated. I have done this just this morning. In terms of how we can update Chrome, just going to give you the keyboard shortcuts just in case someone is using a screen reader. We can press the Alt and spacebar to locate and open the More Options button that's located on the top right of the corner of the browser. Press E for help, press G for about Google Chrome, and the update should start immediately. When it's finished, it took me about maybe 30 seconds to do the update. It'll then announce nearly up to date, relaunch Chrome to finish updating, and finally we tab to the relaunch button, press the Enter key or space bar to select that, and hey presto, Chrome is updated and crisis averted.
Excellent. Yeah, very good. So for our live listeners, you're getting the earliest possible notification from us about that. So be sure to update that. And anybody who's listening in afterwards, you're a little bit behind on that piece of news, so you're going to have to act fairly quickly. But yeah, good piece of a good thing to be aware of and alert to. And thanks for taking us through the steps to update there as well. So that's our tech news for this week. Appreciate that, JP, and Joe as well. Good to get your comments on that as well. And we're going to bring Kerie into this now, because in our final segment for this week, we're talking about Android screen readers. The inbuilt TalkBack, of course, has been ever improving, even if it still doesn't quite convince our regular Joe. But we're not talking about TalkBack this week. Instead, we're talking about the TalkBack alternative, a screen reader called Commentary. Kerie, you actually use Commentary, don't you?
Yeah, hi, hello. So I do. I use Commentary, and what happened was I moved to Android from iOS back in November, and I had tried a few times Android over the years, and as you say, kind of just never been convinced by it really, I guess, and but I decided anyway I'd try it again, and I just got like a very kind of budget basic phone to start with, and I actually did start out using TalkBack, and on the budget phone that I had, it just wasn't cutting the mustard. Like, there was a lot of lag, if you wanted to open something, or you know, if you're, you know, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I'll think about that in a second, you know, kind of thing. So, and people were mentioning, oh, commentary, CSR, you know, commentary, screen reader, G-Show, whatever, you know, and so some people would say commentary, and G-Show, I think, is the like the Chinese name for it, because it's actually developed by Chinese developers, you know. So people were mentioning this commentary, and I'm going, what is this commentary thing like that? And that's a weird name for something anyway, isn't it? Here, you know, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Like, what's the story here? And but I asked a few people, and they were like, oh yeah, give it a shot, you know, it's really good. You know, you won't go back, you know. And you know, and so I said, oh, you know, I'll give it a shot, and if I don't like it, I'll go back to TalkBack, or actually even I'll go back to my iPhone, because I still, yeah, because I still had my iPhone in, you know, at this stage, you know, and every so often it was calling me. It was kind of going, oh look, I'm over here. You know everything about me. We have a relationship, you know. So you know, but so. I tried commentary basically, and it turned that like a very cheap phone. When I say very cheap, I mean like in the context of what we've just been talking about. Under €200 the phone was that I got, and this, you know, G-Show or commentary, whatever you want to call it, turned that phone into a completely different device. Just completely different. It doesn't take much to run, so you can run it on like budget phones, but obviously then you can run it on like your kind of really shiny, sparkly, you know, Pixel 6 and 6 Pro and the Samsung S22s and Z Folds of the world kind of thing.
Kerie. Oh, Kerie.
Yeah,
sorry.
hello. Yeah, hi.
Joe here. Just a quick question. Is it free?
So excuse me. There is a free version. And then there's also like a pro version, but it's and there's like certain things that you'd get with the pro version that you wouldn't get with the free one. But even the pro version is like really like very affordable. I don't know, whatever $18 is in euros, basically it's that for a year license, and you can get a 2 or 3 year license as well if you want. But so it's well worth the and I've used the, like, one of the pro features is a capture recognition thing, and I've used that, and it's amazing. So just for that on its own. But as I say, yeah, it turned this kind of budget phone into like a completely different thing, and made it much kind of snappier to run and everything. So I think it's just and like it's very, you know, customizable and everything. Sorry, I don't know if you have, if you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, mention any of the features. I'm kind of thinking, even just at the moment, it might be good to get into some of the features, because you mentioned there about it being kind of lighter on the phone, so lighter for system resources. Does that actually mean that it does less, or what is the feature comparison?
No, so it's lighter on the system resources, but without a shadow of a doubt, it does, like, it just does heaps of stuff. I mean, there's so much to. At first, it can seem a bit. Oh dear, there's menus, and oh, there's more menus, and oh, it's like a big thing of menus, you know.
Yeah.
But you just have to kind of you stick with it, you know, and it's
push through
very,
it at the
very
start
doable.
kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit. It is very, very doable, but there is
Yeah.
a bit of a learning curve to it, of course. But that would be the same, if somebody went out and got any device for the first time, you're going to be, how do I use this kind of,
Yeah. You mentioned
so,
about it being quite customizable. Is that one of the kind of key benefits if you were to compare it? Somebody else is maybe using TalkBack, and you're kind of thinking, this is why I use commentary, is because I can use it.
Yeah.
100%. What would that be? What would the answer to that be?
Okay, so yeah. So okay, so in commentaries menus, you can obviously, as you can with TalkBack as well, you can navigate by elements on the web, but in the commentary menu, you can also tick a little box that says navigate by elements in the standard Android user interface, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then you can basically decide what elements you want to be able to navigate by just in the standard Android interface, and you can customize those, as well as you can customize the web navigation as well. What else can you do? You can have, so what I have set, for example, is, how can I explain it? Sometimes for volume and things, there's like little slider switches and stuff, and they can be quite tricky to access, with when you're sight impaired, and if you use a screen reader, any screen reader, and so I have it set up that if I do a double press of my volume up key quickly, that it increases the slider values, and if I do a double press twice of the volume down quick, it decreases the slider value. So that means I'm not trying to double tap and hold and flick right and left or up and down, and I'm not sort of wondering, which way do I have to flick to move this thing? It's kind of and that's something that I never that's not in TalkBack at all. You have to figure out which way to kind of move your fingers sort of to
so
do
you're
that.
able to kind of use it in whatever way you find intuitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also as well, obviously there's the TalkBack has a Braille keyboard now, and they are I think that's like, it would be in active development as we speak, obviously, because Android is still still evolving and whatever, and still sort of making strides in accessibility. I suppose there's new things kind of coming on stream all the time there, but Google has obviously TalkBack's Braille keyboard, but also with commentary there are some third-party Braille keyboards that it's basically you don't have to suspend your speech to use them. You can just you can just so that's really good, because it just means that you're not constantly sort of holding down your up and down volume keys, or your whatever your side and up volume keys or whatever. So that's really, really, really handy. So it's just very feature rich, and I've gone back to TalkBack a few times actually over the last few days, because there's just one feature in it that commentary doesn't have, and then I actually emailed the developer the other day to say, please can we please can we have this please can we have this, but it's funny when you go back to one after using the other, you're just like, oh wow, it's so different,
Yeah. So tell me, if you were you talked about the advantages of that, particularly when you were using a phone that was much lower priced than a lot of the others. So you're not talking about a flagship phone. Let's say you had your flagship Android device. Would you still choose commentary?
I would absolutely, because it's so much more customizable. If I can make an analogy, right, and I'm not trying to be controversial, I think so commentary is like Android's voiceover, as in it's it's as customizable as what voiceover would be. And like there's things, for example, I'm not sure if you can do it with, I can't remember. See, all my iOS knowledge now is kind of, well, my iPhone knowledge anyway is kind of gone out of my head. But like, for example, with commentary, you can decide if you want your notifications read out automatically or not. Now, that doesn't mean that you get no sounds. It just means that the screen reader is not kind of yapping away at you. So I have my notifications set not to read out, but obviously I have the sound on, so I know, okay, I need to check that kind of thing. But it's nice because it's not, and also if you're around other people, nobody else is going to kind of hear what's going on and that as well. So it's nice. Yeah, it's really nice. Really nice.
Interesting. So are there any particular drawbacks that you would say with it?
With commentary?
Yeah,
no, not really, to be honest. Like, as I say, I tried it out when I still had my iPhone sitting on my sofa, and excuse me, sorry, and I did that so that if I didn't get on with it, basically, that I could go back if I wanted to, because I wasn't really sure if I was going to stick with Android at all. And I can say now definitely that I don't miss my iPhone, and also in some ways I prefer Android for lots of reasons. So and this is coming from somebody who used an iPhone for years. I mean, we all did, I guess, in the beginning, really, because we didn't have another option. And I would have said, well, they really, what I mean, it was innovative, when the iPhone 3GS came out and stuff. But like for example, like I'm able to use the speech synthesizer that JAWS uses, Eloquence. So I'm able to have that on my Android phone, and that's one of the many benefits, is like you have a very vast choice of TTS, and it's just the whole thing, like not just commentary now, I just mean the whole experience. It's completely it's kind of very customizable. The whole experience is it's really it's very interesting. And like the nice thing, I guess, about the Android experience in a general sense is that I know it's the same with Apple, because you have iCloud and all your stuff's uploaded to the cloud. So every time you get a new phone, it comes down. But for example, say like this time, I'm on a contract now with my network provider, right? And I didn't want to pay for a phone and pay for my plan, because I could have done that. I could have got a shiny iPhone, or I could have got a a Pixel or whatever, but I didn't want to do that. So I got a mid-range phone kind of on purpose. Now, next time, go either end of the scale. Okay, so either I won the lottery and I can afford a really a really shiny, I'll have three of those kind of thing. Or it's like, no, I can't afford that. I'm just gonna have this Samsung for €100 kind of thing. And because because Android is available on so many phones, and because all of your stuff's on the cloud, as they say, that means I can just switch devices and stuff as I need to, and not kind of worry, how am I going to get all my stuff back, that kind of way.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
and there is a commentary. Sorry,
No,
there
go
is
on.
a thing with there is a thing with commentary as well, whereby when you have the pro version, you can do a cloud backup and then obviously restore of your settings, and then not only do all your settings come down, your sound schemes come down, the gestures that you've customized come down, everything, you know. So it's really good. Sorry.
Is it available on the Play Store then? So if somebody was
I
to
knew you
use
were gonna. I knew you were going to ask me that question. I knew you were going to try to be controversial. Now you are. You're a troublemaker. You know
We
that.
have to make sure people have all the information, Kerie.
All the information, indeed. So currently it's on its way to the Play Store, from what I understand. And got
Is that a polite way of saying no? It's not on the Play Store.
it is, yes. That's exactly what it is.
Sorry.
But,
Jude, I just ask a question there, Jude.
Yeah, jump in.
Sorry, Kerie, again. Just listening to your budget plan and stuff. Just a straight question then. Without lobbing out the big money, would you be interested in the subscription thing that Apple are going to introduce? Would you even think about it? Like,
I would. Yeah. Like, I mean, even just like, because I don't think it's going to be just iPhones actually that they offer. I think it's going to be all devices. So like, I have an iPad mini, so definitely like that would be like, and I don't think there's anything now. There are some people in some groups that I'm in that are like, oh, you cannot use both, and you have to pick a side, you know, which I think is silly, really, you know. So yeah,
unless
absolutely.
you're on one of our big debates, Kerie.
Well, unless you're in a debate, then you have to pick a side. but yeah, no, you know, it's definitely, Joe. I would. I don't have anything against Apple at all, and you know what it is some things work better on the Android side of the house, and some things work better on the iOS side of the house, and you know, so that's good.
I'd be interested in throwing the question back to Joe a little bit. Like, even when we're talking about commentary there, Joe, would that kind of, would the sound of that overcome some of the issues you might have with Android devices?
Yes, again, I can't. I've never held even an Android phone, so I haven't got. I don't know what it's like for gestures. I haven't a clue. It could be fast. It could be slow. I could love it. I don't know. I haven't experimented with it, but it seems to be what Kerie was saying. It seems to be very customizable, and I'm all on for that. Because everyone just can't. You know, but you can't remember all the gestures, and then you get frustrated, and then you're like, And if you make your own gestures and you have your own little routine, and if it works for you, why not? Just why not?
You can do that as well. Yeah, you can customize. You can make your own gesture schemes and stuff. So you can actually do that with it as well. So yeah.
I'd be all on for that, like, you know, and if you can make your own, and I've made a few of my own gestures for my Apple device as well. I edited a few things because I used to have problems using the rotor, and I changed around a few of the 3-finger swipe left and right now to go through the rotor options instead of doing the thumb and 4-finger and stuff. But it sounds the job, and yes, again, lads, there's none of us millionaires, and money's money, and that's the way it is. So for what, I'm all out for it.
I think the nice thing about that is that you can run this particular thing on. You can run say CSR commentary screen reader. You can run it on like phones really that. And not to say I even, because I don't even think these days that low spec means it's rubbish, you know, not anymore.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't mean that anymore. Not really, you know.
Doesn't
So
necessarily,
you
yeah.
you can run it on quite low spec, you know, devices, which is great, because it
Yeah.
just means that if somebody, like, because Joe said it earlier, it's so true. Like, a lot of us are on blind pension through, like, you know, just because it's, you know, yourself, it's difficult and whatever to
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and so you know, it gives people options. And the thing I will say as well, just to pick up on what Joe just said about the rotor, is that so to move through the elements both on the web and in the standard Android user interface, it's just one flick up and down moves from element to element, and then you can move left and right to actually, you know, move by the specific element that you choose. So in that way, that's really useful, because it's much faster, and actually it might be really useful for people that would be technically capable, say, but might have, you know, some dexterity issues or so, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just worth putting out there, because there might be people
to
that
mention, yeah.
would grasp the technology perfect, but just
Absolutely.
you know, the rotor, as Joe said, it's like can be a bit tricky.
Well, I think it's very interesting overall. I mean, we probably do have to just mention as well, just to, I suppose, to be responsible about it, that if it's not on the Play Store, there is a kind of degree of somebody takes the risk on themselves. If it's not on the Play Store, there's kind of security guarantees and everything with things on Play Store. But to kind of balance that out, you clearly are finding it very good.
So the one thing I'd say about that is that what you have to just be careful, and this is with any software, and I suppose that, as you say, the thing with Android is that it's, you know, it's open source, it's very customizable. There's people going around, sort of like people you know, play with apps for fun, you know. So you just have to be careful that you're using, even if it's a free app, that you're using like the authorized version of the app. You can get commentary, for example. You get that from GitHub, which is like a huge kind of like database with like loads of different software and things on there, and that's where you would get like the official versions. And just don't just don't use kind of like don't use mods, as we say. You know, and that's how you stay safe. I do absolutely everything on my Android phone that I did on my iPhone. I bank, I do all sorts of stuff, and I never had a bother. So
very good. Yeah, well, it's very interesting. And you used you made a comment just a moment ago that it increases the options, and I think it's quite interesting, just even throughout the show today, that's been very much kind of to the fore, increasing options in a variety of ways. Just even that idea of like somebody who has concerns about Apple's cost, well, now there's another option that allows people who might not have been able to afford it to get it. And here you've got kind of the same in reverse. Somebody who might have been concerned about the effectiveness of TalkBack, well, there's an option. So it's really interesting to hear that. Appreciate you taking us through the kind of the user review, if you like, of commentary, and giving us a bit of an insight into that. So thank you very much, Kerie.
No worries, thank you.
Very good, and it pretty much brings our show to a close today. So hopefully people have enjoyed the discussion. Please do let us know if there's anything that you'd like us to cover in a future show as well. We really appreciate it when we get feedback. We've had a couple of suggestions in already about things to feature on our cheap versus steep debates, or the pieces that we'll have in our podcast. So please do keep the suggestions coming in. They're very useful to us, and it helps us to make the show in a way that is tailored to what you're interested in. Just a reminder, as always, before we finish, that if you need technology assistance, you can get support from the Labs team from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, on 1800 911 110, or you can email labs@ncbi.ie, or if you want to avail of wider NCBI services, you can call 1800 911 250 or email info@ncbi.ie. Of course, we always appreciate your support of NCBI, And if you'd like to make a donation to help support our services, you can do that through donate.ncbi.ie. And just before we go, a reminder of what we'll be talking about in future live events. Really, this is pretty much the same as what we mentioned last time, because we have had a few adjustments to our show today. So we're still going to be talking about some of the NCBI projects that we're going to be giving you updates on. So IA Labs and the Smart Hub update. So we'll have that in some of our upcoming shows. And we're also going to have tech reviews, things like the Fire Stick versus Google Chromecast, for example. And we're going to have another Braille special coming up in our next live event, I think. So stay tuned for that. We'll make sure that there's some information in the newsletter about that. Our next show is going to be on Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. And if you want to stay up to date with what's happening on our live events, on our podcasts, as well as plenty more, you can subscribe to our newsletter on our website, or you can email us at labs@ncbi.ie if you'd like to do that as well. Just to bring in JP very briefly here, the newsletters are proven to be very popular at the moment, I believe, JP. So we might even start giving maybe a little bit of a preview to our newsletters on our podcasts in future. Might give people a little bit of a sense of what's coming up.
That's a good idea. We can give a preview of what's coming up on the next newsletter. Yeah,
have we any idea what's coming up in the next newsletter, or what was in last week's newsletter as well? Because we haven't had a show since then.
Yeah, I can just recap on the last newsletter. We actually looked at Apple Keychain, so keeping your passwords and account details safe with Apple Keychain. And this week coming, we're going to be starting our product review. So over the next number of weeks, about maybe 8 to 10 weeks, we're going to be doing a product review on various items. For example, Apple Watches this week. We're going to be doing something on Fire Stick and Google Chromecast TV. So loads of we're doing like Apple AirTags, tiles, everything like that. A lot of the watches as well. So Garmin, Fitbit, all of those will be covered. So all coming up over the coming weeks.
Excellent. So we look forward to seeing the next edition of the newsletter. And again, if anybody wants to subscribe to the newsletter, you can do that on the website, or you can email us at labs@ncbi.ie if you'd like to do that. And we'd certainly recommend that you do. It's a good read. So all that's left for me to do today is to thank our guests today again, Amir Slapak and Kerie Doyle and Joe McPhillips. And of course, thanks to everyone listening in as well. And from JP and myself, goodbye for now. And we look forward to having you all back with us for the next edition of the Spider Awards finalist, hopefully Spider Awards winner, Talking Technology with NCBI Labs.